Hey everyone, today we are diving into a book that is sharp, a book that is uncomfortable and also a little bit chaotic. And honestly, I find this book to be brilliant. Hi, my name is Florence, and welcome back to the One More Book podcast channel. I hope that you're doing fine. I am back with a book review. Please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy any book related content. And of course, let me know in the comment section which were your most compelling recent reads in the last few months or days or weeks. So this is Universality by Natasha Brown. Now I have to be really honest with you. Natasha Brown is not an author that I even knew about. If not for a book club picking this up as our book club read in March, I would never have known about her. And now I am enamored by her. This is not one of those books that want to be liked, in my opinion. It does not try to comfort you. It doesn't even try to guide you gently into it. It just drops into your world, it just takes you and drops you into this messy world of media, of politics, of class conversations, and of language. And then it quietly watches you do whatever you want with the information that it has given you. And the wild thing is that the more you read it, the less certain you feel. At least that was my experience when I was reading this. So in this video, we are going to go a bit deeper into this book. I will try my best not to spoil it, but I just want to do it in parts. Like, let's find out who is Natasha Brown and why is everyone suddenly paying attention to her. I have just realized that she is one of the speakers at the Nairobi Literature Fest. I'm Kenyan, so there's a literature fest in Nairobi. I think it's happening next month. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend, but hopefully next year. And she's one of the keynote speakers. And then I believe she was also a judge at the recent Booker Prize Award. Booker Prize Award, yeah. So we'll talk about her. We'll talk about what universality is actually about. Of course, I'll try my best not to ruin the experience. We'll go into the major themes that are addressed in this book, like class, like power, of course, identity. And we'll also look at the use of satire in this book and also the unlikable characters that we meet in this book and why this book feels so unsettling, but unsettling in a way that is also relevant. So first of all, who is Natasha Brown? So Natasha Brown is a British novelist who really exploded onto the literary scene with her debut novel, The Assembly, which I believe was published in 2021. I have not read The Assembly, but someone here on YouTube just recommended it. And funny enough, in a conversation I had, someone said they tried to read The Assembly and couldn't get into it. So I want to read The Assembly because I actually enjoyed reading Universality. And I found that, because I borrowed this from my library, and I found that The Assembly is also available. So I have just ordered it at the library and can't wait to read it. So when I say she exploded into the literature scene, I mean that she has won several awards like the Betty Trust Award. The book, The Assembly, I think, was shortlisted for major prizes, or maybe this, I'm not sure, one of her books, but this one has been shortlisted for major prizes like the Goldsmith Prize and the Orwell Prize. And she was later named one of Granta's best young British novelist, which, yeah, amazing. So this is a big deal. That list only comes out every 10 years. So yeah, to be included in it, that's a major accomplishment. So what's interesting about her background is that she didn't even come from a traditional like literary path. She studied mathematics, I believe, at Cambridge University and spent about a decade working in finance before turning into writing. So yeah, wow, what a path. But I think you can see that in her work. She's calculated. She is very calculated in her writing. Her writing, I find, is very precise. It is analytical and it is almost surgical. Like she knows what to put where and what to cut off and what to add. Because the book is like less than 160 pages, but it's very impactful. Like she's dissecting systems instead of just telling stories. And after Assembly, she followed up with Universality in 2025, which is, of course, her second novel, which was, this was the one that was shortlisted for the Booker Prize Award. So expectations were high and she delivered, but not in the way that people expected. At first glance, it starts with something that feels more like almost like a crime story. When you start reading it, that's how it feels like. There's this bizarre incident that happens. A man attacks someone with a gold bar, the gold bar that we see here, and it is at a rural gathering. And then at the opening of the book is written more like a long form investigative article about the event. So we go into, there's a journalist who is going through this story and telling us about like how she questioned the witnesses to try and find out what happened. So already you can feel something different is happening. But then suddenly the novel shifts. The narrative actually fragments into different pieces and perspectives change. We meet new characters who come in and out of the story, and suddenly the story isn't about this one event anymore. It's about stories being told about the event in itself. So the different characters, the event is not at the center anymore, but the other the different characters who are involved in this event, their own stories. Like it now just moves away from the epicenter, which was the crime. And that's where I think the title Universality comes from, because I think nothing happens in isolation. Everything is somehow related. The book is asking, is there such a thing as universal truth? Because all these characters are involved in this event that happened, but who is telling the truth? So the novel moves through multiple characters. We meet a struggling journalist who is chasing relevance, and she's actually like, we see this. The story starts with her point of view. And then we also meet a very provocative columnist who thrives on controversy and who is not scared to. She does everything in her power to get where she wants to. And then we also meet wealthy elites. And on the other hand, we also meet some activists and some outsiders. And each one of them seem to have the same reality, but they just interpret it completely differently. It becomes less of a plot-driven story and more of a study about perception, about power, and about narrative control. So when we look at the themes that come up in the story or come up in this book, because the book is really, really dense with different themes. So one of them is class and wealth. This is, I think, one of the strongest threads in the book, and that is class, where the novel explores how the world we live in is shaped by wealth inequality, by privilege, and of course by access to power. So the gold bar in itself is something symbolic, in my opinion, because this is how the story starts. It represents wealth, it represents control, and this illusion of owning things, of owning space of having privilege. And I won a German copy. There was a giveaway and I won the German copy. And it's very interesting because the German copy, we see the gold bar breaks. This is very symbolic, which I appreciated. I actually prefer this cover to this cover because ultimately the book suggests that what people chase, the money, the status, the success, the privilege, is often hollow. It's like on the outside, it's shiny because, of course, it's an illusion of everything is beautiful, everything is rich, and everything is powerful on the outside. But as we see on this cover, the inside is something different. The inside tells a totally different story. And I think that the book ultimately suggests that what people chase, or what we all try to achieve, is money, is the status, the success. It is often hollow, and yet everyone is chasing it without realizing that there is nothing in there, as we can see on the cover. Another theme that I think comes up in the book is media and narrative power. So the novel itself is obsessed with journalism because the story starts as a journalistic article, and of course storytelling and how narratives are constructed. The opening investigative article goes viral, launches the career of this journalist and everyone around her, but it also distorts the truth. So what I think Natasha Brown is trying to show us is that the story that wins is not always the one that is true. It's the one that is most convincing because it's the one that is shared the most and more people get access to it. So language in this case becomes currency. Literally, words are treated like tools, like weapons, like money. And the book keeps on asking who controls the narrative, because whoever controls the narrative controls the reality. Another theme that comes up is identity and, of course, culture wars. So the novel also dives into contemporary debates like identity politics, woke culture, and, of course, social justice discourse. But instead of taking a clear stance, it satirizes all sides. Characters are weaponizing ideology, they perform beliefs, and they also simplify complex issues into headlines. And the result in a world is what we see is nobody is entirely right and nobody is entirely wrong. And everyone is just slightly exhausting. Like everyone in this book, every character is just tiring, which makes the book very messy, but in a very intentional way. So when we look at the satire that Natasha Brown uses in this book, because I think this is where the book really shines. Universality is, I think a very satirical novel, but not in a loud and comedic way. It's very subtle, it's very sharp, it's almost very cold. You don't see it creeping in. It just suddenly is there. And critics have described it as a nesting doll of satire, where each layer reveals more ambiguity. You know, like that doll that you open and another one comes in and another one comes up. That's how it feels. And I love that description because it feels very accurate. Every time you think that you are understanding what the book is saying, it pulls the rug from under you and something new comes up. The satire works by exaggerating very real world discourse. It exposes contradiction, but it also makes the reader confront their own biases. For example, a character might present a strong ideological argument. Then later you realize that they don't even fully believe in it themselves. It's a performance, and that's the point. Natasha Brown satirizes not just politics, but also the performance of politics. And that leads us to an examination of the characters themselves. Because one of the biggest reactions that people have to this book is that I don't like the characters. And honestly, I understand. And that's very intentional. The characters in this book are very self-serving. They are very unreliable, and they are sometimes very hypocritical. But even the protagonist figures, who are like the columnist and of course the journalist, they are difficult to root for. But we are not supposed to like them. We are supposed to recognize them. Or worse, we are supposed to recognize parts of ourselves in them. Because these characters are chasing validation. They are distorting truth. They are performing identity. They are consuming media without questioning it. Does that sound familiar? It does to me. And the lack of a likable hero for the reader is a very uncomfortable position, because we are always looking for a very likable or character when you're reading books. And when you're reading this one, you cannot just pick a side. You can't root for someone or feel morally superior to any of them. Instead, you are stuck observing and questioning. And I think the discomfort that you sit in is where the book does its best work. The structure of the book is very fascinating. The book starts as a form of article, like a journalistic article, before shifting into multiple perspectives, and then it plays into an very unreliable narration of the different characters that we then meet. And this structure reinforces the themes that I previously talked about, because as you're reading it, you are experiencing confusion, you're experiencing the shifting truths, and of course you're also experiencing changing interpretations, just like the characters do. So it's it's very confusing. So it's not about storytelling. It kind of demonstrates storytelling as a very flawed, manipulative system. And stylistically, I think her writing is very precise and very controlled and almost minimalist. It's like less than 160 pages, but she packs a lot in it. Beneath the restraint in the use of words is something very, very sharp. It's like reading something calm on the surface, but underneath it is boiling. It is quietly dismantling everything. So how has this book been received? I went, of course, on Goodreads, and I believe it has a less than 3.5 stars, but yeah, it's very divisive. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize Award in 2025, with critics praising it for its intelligence, for its structure, and for the bold use of satire. Some have also called the author as one of the most intelligent voices in writing today. Others highlight how the book challenges readers' assumptions and, of course, their biases. So in conclusion, what did I think about this book? I gave it a 4.5 stars, only because I could have given it a 5 stars, because I actually really, really loved reading it. I enjoyed it, but I took away the 0.5 stars just because it made me work for it. I had to work really, really hard to love it. But it was an amazing read for me. This is one of those books that don't necessarily love you as it doesn't love you back as a reader. It is just there, like, take me as I am, whatever your choice. It doesn't try to be warm. It doesn't try to be comforting. It doesn't do that, but it makes you think, and that's why I loved it. It made me think a lot. It made me question how I consume media. It made me question how narratives shape my opinions, and how often I view things or I accept things as the truth without really, really examining them. And that, I think, is where the title Universality becomes iconic, because the book suggests that there is no single universal truth, only competing narratives from all sides. And yeah, in the end, Universality by Natasha Brown is a very sharp and unsettling and honestly kind of very fascinating read. If you've read it, I'd love to know how your thoughts about it. Did you connect with it, or did it leave you feeling slightly annoyed? Because I feel like both reactions are valid. And if you're into books that challenge you, books that make you uncomfortable in a good way, this might be one for you to pick up. Yeah, let me know in the comment sections if you'd ever read it. I'd love to hear about that, what your experience was, if there are books in this similar vein that have also brought up similar thoughts to you. Please share them in the comment sections. I'd love to know that. And of course, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing. And yeah, have a lovely evening. Bye.